We have a great opportunity today. We're going to speak with Javier Nichols. I don't even know where to start, but I'm going to start where I start with every podcast, which is you're a professional athlete. What's your walk-up song?
Wow, my walk-up song.
What's
Well, now
your
that the
walk-up
Eagles, now that the Eagles won, my walk-up song would have to be "Blow the Whistle" by Too Short. Now
Okay.
that the Eagles won.
Okay, all right, good deal.
That's a good song too, but it came back now that the city rallied behind it. So
Yes,
that's my
absolutely.
walk-up song right there.
Absolutely. It was a great win for the Eagles. It was a fantastic
phenomenal
win.
It was a long-awaited win.
So I'm excited to have you here today because we've met a couple times. And I've been on some of your, maybe even unbeknownst to you, I've listened to some of your workshops for scripting, things like that. So, and you have a lot going on, and you're a leader in the real estate community. And through the course of this year, we really want to try to get into the weeds a little bit on the best way for realtors to get off to a fast start, loan officers to get to a fast start, and how collectively we can make sure that consumers, first-time home buyers and the like, get what they need.
Correct.
Right, to get started in the spring real estate market. Now, I know you have a lot going on in your life. I'm going to let you pick a topic. I know that you have the what is it? The handbook?
New Agent Handbook.
Agent Handbook.
Yes.
And you have your clubhouse scripting.
Yes.
Which I think scripting is hugely important because, I have 5 kids that are grown. I always told my kids,
nice.
It's not always what you say, it's how you say it.
Correct.
Right?
Voice
so
inflections.
I want to get into that a little bit. And then, of course, you have some new initiatives and marketing that you're doing on your own.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you pick the lead-off topic. What's on your heart and on your mind today?
Well, if we're talking about educating and motivating and making sure that the realtors out here in the world are getting what they need, first things first is Realtors Property Resource. That is a wholly owned realtor product that the public has no access to. Realtors can go in. They can become market experts right there by typing in the zip code, finding out exactly what your sales price to original price ratios are right there on the screen. You even find out the days on market and the median sales price within seconds. But it goes deeper. It goes into a position where ChatGPT has now integrated with RPR, where now you can go in and let's just say you want to create a post that's conversational or engaging. You now can type that in, select a topic, whether you're speaking to investors, first-time home buyers, downsizers, and now you press enter, boom, ChatGPT takes the market data that's already within RPR and spits out a content post. Not just one, but 4 content posts, and they give you hashtags. So for those realtors that are listening who are on the fence about creating content, this is the perfect way to stand out because the public understands that there is no difference. We just passed a law that makes wholesalers become real estate professionals, get licensed. So the public now can't really tell the difference between a real estate agent, a realtor, and a wholesaler. So RPR is that piece that separates us from everybody else.
Wow, that's exciting. So that has nothing to do with multiple listing service or anything like that. This is just a service specifically for realtors, but you have to have the credentials to even get
Correct.
into it. Is that correct?
100%. So you must belong to the national, local, and your state association of realtors. You have to be a realtor.
So it's both informational.
Yep.
And it provides content to, so it really serves 2 purposes, at least 2 purposes, maybe
100%.
more, right? So if you're a realtor, how do you get into it? Like, how do you?
It's
is
simple.
it subscription based, or how does that work?
Well, no, it's something that is a member benefit. So by paying your dues, you automatically have access to this. So it's essentially free because you're paying your dues, and your dues have so many benefits. But RPR is one of those things that are underutilized. Most realtors and brokers that I train on this never even used it. And if they did, it was years ago where they only used it for comps. But now we're not just using it for comps because, as I told you, you can create content posts on there, but you also can create market activity reports, neighborhood activity reports, and the neighborhood reports give you demographics. It even gives you understanding of what the people in your community do for work, how they travel to work, how they vote. These things are very important if you want to learn how to communicate properly to your community. And it's a micro-based system, so you can go macro with it, or you can go micro with it. So it's really impressive. And it's good for commercial as well.
So it's really something that's been around and
Yep,
realtors have had access to, underutilized, and has been transformed by technology.
100%,
Okay. That's
100%.
a beautiful thing. I'm sure that's a thing a lot of our realtors didn't know.
Yeah.
And you use it daily, weekly. How often do you find yourself?
I use RPR. I mean, I would have to say at least 3 or 4 times a day because not only am I an instructor, I'm a certified RPR trainer.
Oh,
We
okay.
actually have a meeting tomorrow for RPR All Stars where we're going to just be going over new market activity reports and how they're going to be taking advantage of using some of the new data. And you mentioned the MLS earlier. So one good thing about the RPR is that you can actually type in your MLS ID, and now it integrates the data from your MLS. And if you belong to multiple MLSs, you plug them all in, boom. You now have access from all your MLS data on the RPR so you can make sure it's the most accurate.
Okay. So this sounds like it's one piece of what you incorporate into
Yes.
the new agent handbook, right? Is that fair?
Yes, yes, that's one pillar.
Okay. So then what else is in the new agent? Well, what is the new agent handbook? Is that
So,
your
yes,
baby?
yes, it's my wife and I's baby. We created it during COVID.
Hmm.
When I first got into the industry in 2017, I was in the car business for a very long time. Number one in sales was Sussman Automotive, which is no longer there, and then we have McCafferty, which is now purchased by Fred Beans. And during that, when I first got into the industry, I realized that agents were the product of brokerages. It wasn't the way that we thought. When we go through real estate school, you come in and you realize, okay, I'm gonna go out and help my community. But instantaneously, you realize that your broker wasn't giving you the knowledge
Hmm.
that you really needed. Not faulting the brokers because they are belonging to a franchise that want to keep people within. So things like the HUD Home Store, RPR, you know, script and role play practice, these things are not hammered down immediately. So that's what we focused on. So I started my master class in 2017, and the master class was basically for new agents,
Hmm.
as I was a new agent. I wanted to learn. But I started to realize that most agents were not salespeople. They didn't consider themselves as salespeople. They looked at salespeople as like gritty and like, icky, you know? So I had to rebrand
And
what a
some of them
sales.
are.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When
It's
you're
not.
looking
It's
at,
not a totally
yeah,
unearned
yeah.
frame of
That's
reference for
100%
salespeople.
true. Salespeople are very icky in the wrong environment, but you want to place this in our environment, realtors. We are here to empower our community, but we are here to make sure that the process works across the board. So that's what we did. We incorporated HUD Home Store, which is another one of our amazing specialties that we teach and train on. And then we incorporated linguistics. I started to realize that when I brought up going over having conversations and, you know, practicing how to deal with objections, most people were not dealing with them. They were going over scripts. They were reading them like robots. So we wanted to take that away. And we didn't create this. I believe someone else did, but script to dialogue.
Hmm.
So we removed scripting. We did script to dialogue because you want to have a conversation. You don't want to sound like a robot. So those are one of the pillars, the 3 pillars that we use for New Agent Handbook. And then we wrote a book.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah, it's an ebook. So we wasn't looking for $1 million out of the ebook. We wanted to just give it to some people so they can have it. At least we thought we were going to be millionaires when we first made it, but definitely made some money off of it. And we created a community where I coach agents nationwide. We have about like 28 members in our subscription, and we have a large team that we've grown over the last like 6 months.
Now, I met you a year or so ago for the
Yeah,
first time, and then I had an opportunity to jump into some of your dialogue coaching
yeah,
that you do through Clubhouse, and I found that to be hugely informational. And like I said to you before we started this, that really inspired me and interested me because, I always tell my kids with grown kids sometimes it's not always what you say, but it's how you say it,
correct.
right? Just from a loan officer's perspective, it's one thing to call a realtor and say, oh my God, the property didn't appraise. It's another thing to call a realtor or a home seller and say, the appraiser had some challenges in agreeing with the marketability and the price of the property, but I think I have a solution for you. I mean, that conversation usually goes way better than calling and saying, oh my God, the property didn't appraise. So
100%.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about that scripting and the communications piece. That's probably
Yes.
hugely important to the new agent handbook, I would assume.
100%. And what we do is we focus on voice inflection. We focus on changing certain words and closing. You know, one of the things that I love to see people use after years of training them on it is our close if there was a way. So if there was a way that this property sold at this price and you were able to buy this home, would you consider working with my team and I? Something very simple like that comes off very genuine, but it also gives them an opportunity. And one of our I mean, I call this my best close, is for the right price, would you consider selling your home? Now, what this does is it gives you, a fork in the road. Most people, well, not most people, some people who are, gung ho of staying home and they're never selling, they're going to tell you, hey, I'm going to die in this house, right? And that's okay. That's like a comic relief. You laugh it off and keep going. Other people may say, yeah, well, I'll sell this house if it was $500,000. Great. Well, my team and I will be in the area tomorrow doing exactly the same thing we're doing now between this time and this time. Does that time work? We get the appointment. And by the time we get the appointment, now we start working backwards because what we focus on is where you're going to go, how that house is going to come into fruition. And then we add in our off market abilities because we make phone calls so often. We now can bring properties to market that were never there, therefore giving you a better deal and getting your property sold for the right price. And sometimes even a more aggressive price than you originally thought. Because if you wanted to sell at 350 and we know that coming in at 315 is going to really drive the market, we go to 315. But we also have already done the numbers showing that 315 gets you that house that you wanted because we've already located it.
So how about the people that come at you? And I think this is kind of where we are in the market space right now with people that have a property to sell. Um, but if they sell it, where are they going to go?
Yeah.
Like, what are their options?
Yeah. So that's what we do.
They might be highly interested in taking that equity and doing something with it. They just don't know what, or they don't know what the next phase of their life looks like. So have you kind of scripted that conversation into your?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's how all the agents who are listening to this, whether you're a realtor, a real estate agent, or even a wholesaler, you must start there. That's where you have to start. Don't start on, let me just put it on the market and get you some offers. Because yes, you may be victorious in providing offers, but now you have a contingency situation going on because this sale is contingent upon them finding a home. And if that buyer gets antsy a month in, you just wasted your entire time. So you must start at the very end. So that's where we come in, and that's where RPR comes in. For some of our folks that say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of a deal, this kind of a house, what I do is I pull up RPR, you go into the map search, type in the zip code, maybe the school district if they're looking for that, and then you look for foreclosures and pre-foreclosures. And once you do that, you have an opportunity of contacting those folks. Some of those numbers are right there on RPR. You can reach out to them, talk to them, and the conversation now is being done in that kind of a way where you're reaching out and saying, hey, my client, we have people who are looking to buy in this community. Do you happen to know of anyone thinking of selling? Their instant reaction is going to be no. I don't know anyone thinking of selling because they may not, or they don't want to give up their friends and family. But we're not calling just because of that. So the conversation will continue. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Truly appreciate it. But wait, before I go, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? And now we call them because they know that there's an underlying financial discrepancy happening. And for the right price, they would sell. And now we got them on the hook. And now we found this property. And we didn't just find it by accident. We found it because our client gave us the criteria on what they were looking for. And now we made the matchup.
Yeah, that's important. But as an industry, I don't see how we break through for 2025 without incentivizing sellers that need to have, a plan for the next phase of their life. And because we don't live in an area where our problem is going to be resolved by a whole lot of new construction. We have weather to deal with. It's just, we have availability of land and things like that. So there's some parts of the country where if you bring new construction to the marketplace, in great quantities, that'll solve some of the housing needs and move that part of the country, forward.
Correct.
We don't have that luxury here, right? So I feel like until we can provide solutions for sellers, that we're going to be stuck a little bit.
A little bit. And I think that is a good thing. Why? Because it makes us as realtor professionals, you have to increase your skill set. You can't just go strong just because you want to make money, right? As after August 17th, we realized that the hammer dropped. Buyers agents now have to negotiate for their commission, which they always did. but some people did not follow the rules as they should have. Pennsylvania was well positioned to take on that entire lawsuit perfectly because we always had a buyer's agency contract. So when that happened, it was like Christmas morning for me because I realized that all the years I spent role playing and negotiating and honing on my skills, I'm now going to be collecting market share from those who have not.
Right.
And they don't deserve to be in the business if they're not honing on their skills because our community deserves a professional, a seasoned professional, someone who cares, someone who's going to continuously go out and seek the information needed to provide their client with the best service. And that's it.
Great. That's all good stuff.
Yeah, we love what we do. It's a blessing. I must say, it comes from seeing how things happen in this business, but you also want to go and make sure that you're reaching out. Like I mentioned earlier, pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. There are a lot of people dealing with that. Do they have options? They do. But we need to reach out to them and let them know because many of them are going to find themselves being put out. And we have a housing crisis in that regard as well.
Mhm.
So we need more professional agents, whether you're a realtor or real estate agent or even a wholesaler, to seek that professional advancement so they can go out and find those people and help those people because they have equity. The banks know it,
Right.
right? But they don't know it.
And
So
the banks are anxious to get their hands on it if they can. But,
they definitely are,
so I'm going to assume that a lot of your knowledge base so is well earned on the sales side of it. Like
Yes.
it's practice, right?
Yes.
It's repetition.
Yes.
But you're also involved on the governmental side
Yes.
and the administrative side very heavily.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that. What you do there and how you're credentialed for that, and how do you fit all that in? How do you make that translate from? How do you put that work in, and the handbook and the New Asia handbook in, and continue to manage your teams and your sales processes? Like that's a busy day.
It is very busy, but you have to fall in love with it. You have to be fully involved throughout and through in, right? So the first time I went to Harrisburg was in 2022. And at the beginning of the year. And we didn't do our day on the hill until the middle of the year. That happens around like May. And I'll tell you what that is. But the first time you go into Harrisburg and you go to the Hilton and you start sitting down for the Pennsylvania, business meetings, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant.
Mhm.
You don't understand it at first. You're like, what is all of this? And then you start to realize, wait a minute, this is where all of our documents are created. This is where people from all over the state, because our state is huge, they're coming in and talking about their problems from their point of view.
Mhm.
And then you're left with so many questions, but so much more value to provide to your client because when they're interviewing you for a listing, they're looking for more inside information. They're looking for insights that no one else has, that you have as a professional and other professionals should have, but that's what they're looking for. So for example, in 2022, towards the middle of the year, we have this thing called the Day on the Hill. And the Day on the Hill is where we go and we ascend. It's what I love to use that word. We ascend on the Capitol and we go in and we speak with our legislative body. And we let them know what issues we want them to vote on and what issues we find to be important. And at that time, it was 1031 exchange.
Mhm.
Pennsylvania was the last state to allow 1031 exchange on the state level. Before then, they were charging you 3% tax when you sell your home, and that was that. Now, 1031 exchange allows you to defer your taxes on the state level and the federal level, to kick it down the road a little bit. Now, of course, we're not here to debate or go over that, but what that did, what allowed our investors to now earn more from the sale of their investment properties, which keeping money in their pocket, which in essence goes into our economy. Once I saw that, I fell in love. I'm like, all right, I'm never leaving. I'm coming down here all the time. And then we pushed for the wholesaling bill, in which that passed. I think that's called Act 52 now. And our contracts, there was a time, I believe during the COVID, a little bit after COVID, but it was right around that time where people were submitting multiple offers. And they were submitting multiple offers with the same buyer, but the buyer would get acceptance on all offers and have a pick and choose on which one they really wanted and tell the other ones, hey, we decided not to do this. So there was a big debate down in Harrisburg on the agreement of sale. And the question was whether we want to use for the earnest money deposit, use the word owed. Because if you submitted an agreement of sale, you owed that earnest money if they accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we never did this because we decided not to go that route. It opened a whole nother door, but it allowed us to really understand the power of our voices down in Harrisburg. And that's where you start to see our contracts be edited. You can voice your opinion on anything, and voting as a board of director is just invaluable. And it allows me to, increase my value when I'm speaking to folks, buyers, sellers, businesses, brokers, whoever. Because now we're speaking from a different level of I'm just here to make money.
Right.
Now we're here as economic developers. And now that changes things, especially in my community. It's very important.
Well, I mean, I've always felt like if you're the only way you can become a subject matter expert on anything is if you're part of the process.
Yeah.
Like if you're not part of the process, it's really hard to be a subject matter expert on something that you're trying to convey to other people,
100%.
especially when it's like when they're trying to acquire or sell the largest single asset a lot of them will ever own. So
Correct.
there's the extra burden of responsibility. And it sounds like you're covering all of that, not for yourself, but for other people through education.
100%. 100%.
Right.
Well, it definitely covers it. But one of the things I know I mentioned off air, but I talk about it here is SRA. SRA, Suburban Realtors Alliance. So if anyone watching this or hearing this, make sure you go to SRA.com if you're here in the tri-state area, because what it does, it provides you an insight on changes that are occurring within your municipality. It is important that we understand, and that's one of the things that we do in Harrisburg, is we make sure the municipalities do not overstep their boundaries, and they do it all the time, right? Tax assessments, they put these UNOs in the process where they force the homeowner to pay for all of these inspections, and it drags the process and it slows growth. So SRA provides us with that knowledge to see, okay, what does it cost to sell this home based on what the municipality requires? So now when I'm speaking to my client or I'm speaking to that for sale by owner, I can inform them, hey, are you aware that you need to spend $200 for your use and occupancy permit and get your sewer scope and get your heater certified before this sale happens? Now that for sale by owner is unaware.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're coming in from Zillow or forsalebyowner.com and they're thinking this is going to be a breeze. But now we are there to protect them and protect our community, because a buyer purchasing from someone that's just going through that are not getting the right documentation protections and, of course, those other added on inspections. Now, they have to do them, but now we're already committed. And now that's something that the buyer has to
Well, at least
take
you
care
have
of.
a plan. Right, you have a plan.
Correct.
And that's huge too, because for so long we were singularly focused on the barrier of entry for buyers.
Yeah.
And now some of that barrier has been transferred to sellers. I mean, you're talking about sewer lateral. I know, you can be $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 easy between the scoping and then whatever reparation needs to be done to the cure, right?
Correct. It's devastating at times. And you want to address these things early. But tackling these early allows for you to make sure your client is prepared. And as a buyer's agent, if you're looking into the municipality, you can ask already, hey, they have to get this UNO checked. So my buyer knows that the sewer was scoped, the heater is certified, the electrical panel is certified. So maybe when we go to our inspection, we can not nickel and dime, because we know the most of these heavy liftings has already been done based on the municipality, giving your buyer more confidence that this home is going to be structurally sound.
Right.
It's a good position.
Well, and that's what it's all about. I mean, you got to bridge that. You got to make it palatable for both parties. It has to be a win-win, or sometimes the deal is at peril.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely. So what else you have going on? We talked a little bit about the new agent handbook.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about scripting. And we talked a little bit about your time in Harrisburg and how you bring that to the consumers.
And I challenge everybody to come down. If you're listening to this, those meetings are free. All you got to do is pay for your lodging or drive in.
Oh, what, the meetings in Harrisburg?
100% free. 100%. You just got to be a real estate. You got to be a realtor. Come on down, jump on in, and listen in. And it's free. You just got to pay for your lodging. So I do challenge everyone listening to this and watching this, make sure you guys come on down to Harrisburg and reach out to me personally. I would love to educate you on the meetings and what to look for and how to take copious notes. I'm always front stage and making sure I serve on committees on the state level. I do sit on the board of directors for our local association of realtors and our state association of realtors. I serve as our chairman of our new member success committee at the Bucks County Association of Realtors. So for those newer members coming in, sometimes you see me, sometimes you see people from our committee, but we're here to make sure that you're starting off that launch pad with the right foundation. And just to go into other things I'm doing, we're making good content. We're out there showcasing how to do it, educating agents. We do this content cafe every quarter. We try to do it every quarter. Sometimes our schedules don't add up, but it's really taking agents through a whole process of how to create content using RPR as well, but also using negative hooks, going into some type of emotional tie-in, showing them how to use CapCut. And that's a 6-hour process. It's really tough to go through and show the agents. So we do charge a little bit for it, but it's worth it. Definitely worth it.
So let's pivot for just a little bit.
Yes.
We talked about what you can do and what other realtors should be looking at in terms of, being ready for the spring market, preparing themselves for, through various avenues. So let's talk a little bit about consumers.
Yes.
What do you see for consumers for 2025? What do you see for people? I feel like there's a pent up demand for housing. I feel like rentflation is real.
Yeah.
I think we're getting back to that scenario in some areas where it's almost cheaper to buy than it is to continue to rent.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on consumers? Let's bring some information to the consumers on what they can do to get started, because most of the consumers, first-time home buyers I talk to, it's the same conversation. They legitimately don't know where to start in some cases.
Yes. So for consumers, one of the first things I want to say is make sure you sit down with at least 3 or maybe 2, I say 3 realtors or maybe real estate agents, depending. You want to ask these differences. So I think for consumers, my first thing is to make sure that you're asking if a person is a realtor or a real estate agent. Now, I'm not here to put down real estate agents, but I do want to highlight being a realtor. We do.
Can you make that differentiation for
Yes.
consumers?
Yes. So a realtor has a code of ethics. A realtor belongs to the state, local, and national association of realtors. And we provide different resources. We have different values. And most importantly, we have, as I mentioned earlier, the code of ethics. Now, a real estate agent is a person who does not belong to the association. Not bad or good. I'm not telling you to not choose them, but what I am saying is the access to resources is very important. As a consumer, you want to make sure that you don't leave no stone unturned. And when you're looking at buying a home, your real estate professional, whether that be a realtor or a real estate agent, should be able to showcase to you a creative approach other than what's on the open MLS market. If your real estate professional is only showing you properties from the MLS, you want to ask questions, because it is our duty to find properties that are off market and to also discover different types of opportunities. And I want consumers to realize this, and if you listen, write these terms down. An expired listing. That just means that a person tried to sell, but didn't sell. Doesn't mean that they never want to sell, but that can be a phenomenal way to reach out to them. Maybe have your real estate professional reach out to that expired listing in that community that you want to live in and offer them a great deal. And you also want to start to talk about, if you are looking to purchase a home, I want you to start thinking about house hacking. Now, many people have heard that term before, but I want to break it down really simply. And this is easy because FHA allows you to finance up to 4 units. And right now we're seeing rentflation, as you mentioned. So if you're experiencing this and your rent is substantially higher than it should be, or you would like it to be, think about buying a duplex or a triplex as your first property. And it may sound strange because everybody wants that single family white picket fence, golden retriever lifestyle, but it may not be for you right now. But use that as the bridge to get you to that destination. Because what happens is when you buy this duplex or triplex, maybe even quadplex, you're gaining equity, right? You make this purchase using an FHA, write this down, 203K loan. This is a repair loan. This allows you to go and find a house that's in disrepair. Let's just say this property is $200,000 and you get approved, you and your spouse, or possibly you by yourself, for $400,000. And that's easy to get approved for nowadays. So this house is $200,000, but it may need 80 grand worth of work. You can choose your own contractor, get in there and repair all the work. Your appraisal before you sign on a dotted line shows you what the ARV is for that property, so you can see the instant equity before you even buy the home. And once you buy it and live in it, well, your tenants are going to pay your mortgage. So now your rent is eliminated. And now you could take that money and put it into, I like the stock market. I think that's a good way to put your money. You want to look at diversifying. Don't just put it into the bank and hoping that the bank is, going to, bank is not going anywhere, but you want to grow your money. Okay. So all that extra money that you have, maybe you have some debt you have to cover, or maybe you have some things you want to double pay on and get them done, but you have that breathing room. And we understand that financial stress is one of the contributors to health concerns.
Sure.
So if you're taking this and seriously and you're going after this, you can alleviate a lot of things just by buying that duplex for the first 2 years, and then you move out, or maybe you sell it, take the equity. Now you have 100 grand or 60 grand to put down on that dream home that you thought about the first time.
Well, and that's important. So interestingly, the first home I ever bought was about almost 40 years ago.
Nice.
And it was a duplex. New wife, baby on the way, renting, needed to get some permanent housing and create a home environment. First property I bought, Abington Township, was a duplex, rented out part of it, lived in part of it. And they're not mutually exclusive. You mentioned buying a multifamily property and the 203K. So you can buy a multifamily property and use a 203K, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
You're really killing two birds with one stone.
Correct.
If you go down that road, and that's very, very feasible to do. So yeah, appreciate your comments.
And just want to add in, if your agent is savvy enough, you're going to get seller assistance, or AKA seller concessions, and that will allow you to cover your closing cost, at least majority of them. FHA still requires you to put down that 3.5%, but if the seller, let's just say you find an absentee owner, and absentee owner, for those listening who do not know the term, absentee owner is just a landlord, okay, who owns that building. You can now reach out to absentee owners who are going through pre-foreclosure and foreclosure. Mm-hmm. Buy the home, get seller concessions, only bring to the table minimum, boom.
Well, and there's so many first-time homebuyer products available that people just aren't aware of. I mean, as a broker, we have access to first-time homebuyer products that require zero down.
Yes.
An 80% first mortgage, a 20% second mortgage,
So
both
good.
amortized over 30 years.
Yeah.
And they're great deals.
Yes.
But it's a matter of education, letting people know that the products are there and that you qualify for that product.
And the marketplace is a little bit muddy. It's difficult for consumers to find that agent who's willing to do these things, because everybody seems perfect. When you go online and you speak to people, everyone has it figured out. No one is saying, hey, my name is Javier and I don't know nothing, but I have a great content post, choose me, right? No one's saying that. They all are coming off as they got it all figured out. They can find you the good deal. They can get things done, and you go in, and then you realize months later that's not the right choice, and then you're discouraged. You say, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to just continue renting. And then years pass, and then maybe you try it again, and maybe you run into the same. So I really advise that whenever I'm meeting with folks, and I talked about this morning on our Clubhouse role play, is that whenever I'm meeting with folks and they say, hey, Javier, everything you're saying sounds great. And that's one of the pitfalls of practicing communication on a regular basis is you make things sound good.
You sound too good.
You sound too good. And that's one of my sayings. So our mantra at the New Agent Handbook is assume nothing, verify everything. Don't believe a single thing I'm telling you, go and verify it. And this allows me, allows my company to surpass the competition because we're putting ourselves out there. compare, go do your research. And what that does, it helps for agents when we train them as well, because we don't want them just to believe what we're telling them. We want them to challenge everything in their space, because now they can start to see what's real and what's not. But I leave clients that I'm sitting down with who has to do thinking, I leave them with a list of questions to ask every single other real estate professional you're going to meet with. And these questions are, I'm gonna just give you a couple because they're very good. Number one is, do are you going to engage in 2 or more hours a week in reverse prospecting? That first question, it's game on, because not only do most real estate professionals do not even know what reverse prospecting means, they don't know how to do it.
You lost them at 2.5 hours.
There you go, right? And our next question is, how often do you practice communication and your negotiation skills? Boom, right? And I give these willingly out to my prospects, because I want them to see, to ask every single person, call everybody you know and ask them these questions, and then let's make a decision. 9 out of 10 times we're working together. The only reason why we don't is because there's a family or friend or somebody close to you that you don't want to disappoint, that you choose. And even then, they still text me, hey, what do you think about this? And I kindly say, hey, reach out to your agent, but if things change, contact me. I'm here to help.
Well, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that mentality and that kind of ongoing self-learning has probably brought you to where you are, in terms of, I see you kind of, I don't want to say all over the place, but you transcend a lot of different markets.
Correct, 100%.
Right? Like, you're in the city, you're in Northeast Philly, you're in Bucks County, you're in Doylestown.
Yes.
So you transcend a broad geography and demographic in terms of buyers, I would assume.
That's why we had to grow our team.
Right.
Because I can't be in all places at once. And right now with EXP, shout out to the Realtor Joan. She's one of our icon agents in my mind, not officially with EXP, but she has created a buzz, an amazing buzz. Because when I got into the industry, again, remember, I'm coming from car sales. I'm all for self. I'm coming in here competing. I wasn't thinking about creating a team. And once I went through Century 21, had a good time. I did good numbers there. And then I got into EXP. Things were good. I love that they have the stock advantages and all of that good stuff. But I sat down with Shari Jackson, and she goes by the Realtor Joan. That's her brand.
Mm-hmm.
I sat down with her, and we teamed up. And when we teamed up, she started to recruit agents in such a way that it blew me away. I started to realize I have a team now. And it's an unofficial team for those of you who are thinking and listening to this. I know you're going to look us up and see if it's a team. It's not a team. It's more of I call it a team structure, because I meet with them, I train them, and I incorporate everything that I do in my training, and I give it to them for free.
So it's a mentorship group.
It is a mentorship group, but they are in my downline.
Okay.
So their success is my success.
Right.
So giving them deals, helping them find deals. They are my subject matter experts for Philadelphia. When I don't know a community, we have a multi-unit right now in Overbrook. I don't know Overbrook, but one of our team members does. She lives in that community. She tells me everything that I need to know. And of course, she's good at what she does, but this allows me to enter into these markets and claim market share from those agents who are not prepared. It's not me personally, it's me with my agents. And I'm there with them to help coach them. So think of me of I don't want to look, it's kind of like a jetpack on the back of some of our agents. Now, again, they all bring the different values to the table. What I'm bringing is compliance, contractual, negotiations, and linguistics. That's what I'm bringing. They have the smarts. They have they already have the package. But coming in, and this is for those buyer's agents out there, when you're submitting an offer, and I'm going to give this out to you guys just so y'all can remember. Write this down if you really want to step your offer game up, because this is a lot of times why you're losing. And as a buyer, if you're submitting an offer with your agent and you keep losing and you don't know why, write this down as well. This is a couple of things that you want to include in your contract package. Number one, you want to make sure that you have a document called Seller's Reply to Purchase Offer. This document is an optional document.
Sounds self-explanatory,
It
but
does. It is self-explanatory. The seller has to reply to your offer in writing, whether they like it or not, because many of our offers never get to the seller. That's one of the dirty secrets about our
right,
business.
that is true.
Right? So as a buyer, as a buyer's agent, if you want to be seen as an agent who actually knows what they're doing, put this in your package. And when I say package, I'm not saying submit your offer with 50 different PDFs. Put all your stuff in one PDF. All right. And we do have the buyer's affirmation for acknowledgement, which is the BRFA, but that document is very, you don't really want to use that. It does the same thing, but that's a required document, not so much as an optional. And also the BFI, the buyer financial informational sheet. You want to include that. And as a buyer, if you're listening to this, make sure you're asking your agent to give that to you so you can complete it, because what happens is the seller sees this, and maybe you have two identical offers on the table, all of them both at the same number, same terms. They're both doing the same financing. This buyer is showing me what they have in their savings, what they earn. And now I'm understanding that this buyer has $45,000 and maybe $60,000 in Bitcoin. But now I'm thinking this buyer is stronger, because this buyer, I don't know. I don't see their financials, and I'm not going to ask that agent because I got to make a decision tonight. So I'm going to choose the stronger buyer because I can see what's going on. So 2 documents, seller reply to purchase offer and BFI, those will help you, and make sure your contracts and everything is in one PDF. That will help you succeed in getting more deals.
I always thought the BFI was a required document. No? Is that?
It's not a required document per se. Some brokers do require it. I think all brokers should require it, but it's not a requirement from the state level. I believe everybody should have it. It's a very powerful document. And I even throw in, like I mentioned, cryptocurrency. I throw in that because the more the merrier, right? I don't care if you got Dogecoin, $1 million of Dogecoin, put it in the BFI, because the seller wants to know whether or not you can withstand this inspection, this process. Because if you go through the home inspection and the seller says, I'm not fixing anything, are you running for the hills because all you have is your deposit money? Or can you withstand this little hit?
So I have to ask you this question, because
Please.
I'm in a text group of peers. It's originators. We talk about things. We help each other when we can. We work at different places. But this phenomena of cash buyers all of a sudden, like, what the heck? Where's all this cash coming from?
I say the same thing.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I had one this morning that said, that he had prepared a pre-approval for a buyer to make an offer, and they lost the deal on a $1.2 million cash deal. And he said it's not the first time this year that he's lost on a big deal that was a cash deal.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of different things. One of the things that I pride myself in looking up is the Census Bureau has a migration pattern map. And if you start to look at these communities that you work in, you can find out where people are coming from, down to the zip code. And some of them are coming up from New York, North Jersey, but a lot of this is equity from selling their homes. I mean, literally. I mean, when you see people who have lived, think about Brooklyn, for an example. You could buy a brownstone in Brooklyn no less than $1 million, but imagine buying that house back in the 60s and now selling it now, or maybe granddad bought it and you're buying, or you're selling it, whatever. You now have this cash. So I do believe that a lot of this cash flow that we're seeing are an influx from other states, and also from people cashing in on their equity in their existing homes.
But I would imagine for a realtor, especially if you're the listing agent, that makes your job a little more daunting, right? You get a cash offer. Do you do more diligence on that for the protection of your seller?
I have to, yeah. So
beyond the BFI?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I need to see the money. I need to see it. The BFI is paper. It's just paper. It's there to influence, but it's not there to be the end all be all. So I do want to see the money in the bank account. Letter of intents don't fly with me. I want to see it. And the only reason why I want to see it is because if you have it, a lot of people have cash offers, but they are in different categories. Money may be in a 401k, money may be in some stock portfolio, money may be in investments that you're liquidating. I need to see it, because if now I know that there is some hoops to go through to make this a true cash offer, that's a different story.
Well, as a mortgage lender, I'd like to outlaw cash offer. That's my own personal preference.
Yeah, I get that.
And I want to ask a favor of you as well. So
please.
as you said, that necessity being the mother of invention.
Yeah.
For a long time, I have looked for first-time homebuyer guides. I call it a homebuyer guide, but it's really geared towards first-time homebuyers, and it's hard to find a document or anything else that is really helpful to a first-time homebuyer in how to get started. So I wrote my own, like you did an ebook. I have my own. I'd like for
Nice.
you to review that for me at some point.
I would love that.
Give me some feedback and, make some alterations to it. And then, it's something that I want to do for the first-time homebuyer community and it starts with how to select a neighborhood, visiting a neighborhood, different days during the week. I mean, it goes all the way from that through how do you protect your investment after you've made it, like buying a home warranty, scheduling maintenance so that you don't lose the value of your asset post-closing. And no first-time homebuyer guides that I could really find address the broad spectrum. So I'd like for you to review that for me at some point.
I definitely will. And I give you some real feedback on it. I always do.
Great.
But I
would
love the
appreciate
fact that you created that, because as I'm thinking in my mind immediately, the consumer guide to agreement of sale is the first thing that I could think of that we have on the state level, but it doesn't cover everything like you just mentioned. So this is really good.
Yeah. So I'm going to get that in your hands in the next day or two if you can take a look
Let's
at that
get it.
for me.
Let's get it going, man. I want to check that out, and I want to put it out to my team so we can send it out to make sure that when we do our first-time home buyer seminars, and they do a lot of them. I haven't done one so far this year. I plan on doing one. We're going to be doing some door knocking with our team, and we're making some content when we do that. But I definitely want to put that out and get some feedback on that.
That's
Literally,
awesome.
I'm serious. Do you have I'm assuming you can make it into a QR code, right? I'm sure we could do that.
That might be above my head
No,
technology-wise.
we'll work it out. No, we'll work it out. We turn it into a QR code, because what happens is you turn it into a QR code and then you put it inside the booklet of the home buying seminar. So the home buying seminar will have, the agent information on it, some information about the community, some RPR market activity reports, and then your guide. But since your guide, I'm assuming, is more than 10 pages, it'd be good to have it in the QR code, because all they have to do is scan it.
Right.
And then boom, they get it.
Well, I'm going to send it over to you. Maybe
And I turn it into a QR code.
We could collab on that.
You send it to me, I'm gonna send it back in the QR code, and boom, make it happen. That's why we love Canva. That's one of our tricks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
So look, we covered a good bit of territory here.
We did.
And I want to make sure that everybody understands how to reach you for what they need so that you can meet them where they are and vice versa.
Yes.
If I'm a realtor, how do I reach you if I have questions about how to get on your team or how to get involved in some of your support resources or that sort of thing? And it may or may not be different from how a consumer gets in touch with you, but how do we get to you? If we have questions, how do we get to you?
Yeah. So full disclosure, I tell everybody, when you reach out to me as a real estate professional and you want to grow your business, be prepared to be uncomfortable. Don't contact me if you're afraid to be uncomfortable, because in our world, we're comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I say that because I know I'm a lot, and I know what we do is a lot, and it pushes people. And I tell people this all the time on my team. My job is to push you off the cliff. I'm jumping with you, and we're going to be eye to eye while you're falling, but you're going to be building this parachute on the way down, and you're going to be facing your biggest fears. And the moment you start to feel those chills of seeing your dreams come true, that's how we know we're on the right track. So I tell people all the time, if you're not prepared to be uncomfortable, just, watch us from afar. But if you're ready, keep scrolling. But if you're ready and you really want to make this move, you can find me at New Agent Handbook on Instagram. Okay. You can always go to the newagenthandbook.com. My personal cell phone number is right there on the website. My email address is right there on the website. Any homeowner looking to reach out to me, you can find me at Javier Nichols. That's Javier. Well, I'm sorry. That's my full name, but let me give you my handle for Instagram. It's Nichols_real estate. And you can just type in chef by day, realtor by night. That's my handle. Or you can just call me at my cell phone, 267-972-21 07. Had that cell phone number since high school. So it's been with me for a long time.
Well, you answered another question too, which is on your Instagram site and I believe your Facebook site. You have a lot of cool recipes. So I was wondering what the tie-in was. I think you just told me what the tie-in was.
Yeah. My wife and I, we compete. She destroys me day in and day out, but I compete nonetheless.
I'm looking at your professional realtor content, and I go, "Damn, that looks good."
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to make that.
Food is my food is the way. It's how I address business. Right, I take my time. Preparation is key.
Yep.
And I use that for food. So I tie those two things in. I can go off on a million different tangents of analogies with this, but just know that I take pride in what I cook and what I feed my family. My wife does as well, and I take pride in making sure that my clients have the right preparation and they have the right skill sets. I have the right skill set to make sure that the job is done perfectly.
That's awesome. Hey, thanks so much for coming out and being with us today. I think we've accomplished our goal today, which is to let people know if they want to jumpstart 2025, we have an avenue for them.
I do want to give them one last thing, though, in regards to the three-way agreement, okay? I know a lot of folks out there are hearing a lot of conversation and chatter about the three-way agreement, the state, the national, and the local association of realtors. And I want to be the first to tell you that the three-way agreement is essential. What you spend on your dues is minor compared to what we provide, what we receive from the associations. This is not coming from me as a board member. This is coming from me as a realtor. Just think about it. If that three-way agreement was severed and you had to hire a lawyer to generate your paperwork for every offer, not just the offers that you get, that you make, that you get executed, every offer, how much would that cost you? A lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Well, I'm assuming this speaks as well to post the litigation.
Correct.
There's a lot of conversation of why do I even want to be associated with NAR? What have they done for me lately? Like, why do I need them?
Correct.
So you're telling me this is why you need them.
This is why I want to make sure that, and RPR is a wholly owned company of NAR. Okay, so the technology, the documents, and the advocacy. When you guys do your taxes, I want you to think about what you save from being a real estate professional. When we had COVID happen and we wasn't considered essential workers, who went to bat to make sure that we got our due? So if we lose that advocacy, what do we have?
What do you have? True.
Right? It's very important for every single person to understand this. And if you have any questions, and this is for those watching and listening, any questions about NAR, PAR, or BCAR, which is the agreement that I have, reach out to me. I will love, and in any association for that matter, on the state and local level, reach out to me. I will love to provide you with the right resources so you can equip yourself and not make the mistake of leaving or not being a part of that three-way agreement, because it's so essential. It separates us from everyone else. Us realtors are the Four Seasons, and everybody else is Motel 6. That's my personal statement, not from anyone else. That's how I strongly feel about the differences of what we provide versus everybody else.
Awesome. Great information.
Hey, man, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for being here.
I appreciate it.